Hello Summoners and welcome to another episode of ProGuides OP Picker Ban, now on patch 10.19. These are the champions that are a bit overtuned for one reason or another, so they have the power to affect your games more than they otherwise should. In light of that, you'll be wanting to either deny their existence altogether or secure them for your own team. Before we get to that, today's question of the day. Let's say it's a weekend day, so you can play anytime you want. Are you gonna jump in morning, afternoon, night, or we talking middle of the night game and sesh? Let us know in the comments down below. And one last thing, be sure to visit us at ProGuides.com. We have the best roster of coaches, top-tier live classes from instructors like Mike Young and Zyrene, and courses covering a variety of roles and champs from your favorite pro players like Doublelift. We also have a brand new VOD review feature, and we're super excited for you to try it out. The way it works is you send in a replay file, and the coach sends you back fully reviewed VOD. No one enjoys finding themselves stuck in a rut. Whether you do a live coaching session or a VOD review with our team, you'll find yourself ranking up faster and enjoying the game more as a result, all on your own schedule. We'll even be giving 3 winners a free trial to see how they like it. To enter the giveaway, join the ProGuides Discord server in the description box below and enter in the giveaway text channel. Normally in our OP Picker Band series, we talk about the 2 best champions in each role, one role at a time. But with Samira being released just around the corner on the 21st, she goes at the very top of our list. This isn't just because she's a new shiny champ. She's insanely over-the-top broken. In fact, she's even more powerful than Aphelios was on release, and thanks to her being mobile and strong in the early game, it's likely she will be a good flex pick to top and probably even mid lane. Her passive has a lot to do with it giving her added mobility, a source of mixed damage, an execute, and even lets her dash into range of nearby CC'd opponents, letting her first attack against them knock them up. All of this makes her pair exceptionally well with an aggressive support like Pantheon. Q gives her the ability to poke from as far as Kate, but when used up close, gives her powerful wave clear with its AoE slash. Her W makes her nearly invincible, allowing her to not just block, but completely destroy projectiles. Her E's dash being able to be targeted at both allies and enemies means that in a chaotic teamfight, you have several options on how to position. Since it resets on takedowns, you can dash in, secure a kill, and dash out to an ally. Or maybe in a different scenario, it's best to keep dashing deeper to finish off more enemies. Lastly, stacking up her passive to S tier unlocks her ult, giving Samira a huge AoE damage potential in a teamfight. This champ is gonna be insanely overpowered, but she's also very high risk, high reward. Both her skill ceiling and skill floor are well above the average champ, and performing poorly early game means you're going to be pretty much useless until your team can spoon feed you, since she is purely a damage dealer with no utility. With all that said, when she's piloted correctly, Samira is 100% the most OP champ in the game, so be sure to either first pick her or ban her to save yourself a hassle. Starting things off in the top lane, Darius has been ebbing and flowing between A and S tier all season, and in the current state of things, he's back at the top spot. Passive stacking bleed gives Darius strength in extended trades, but thanks to his Q's huge burst of damage and self-heal, he's fine taking faster trades as well. On top of healing him and doing huge damage to enemies caught on the outer edge, his Q's huge AoE means it gives uncontested wave clear. While you don't have a gap closer per se, E's pull makes them come to you, and following it with a W empowered attack is great when you're ready to go for an all-in. Once you hit them with this quick combo, the slow lets you easily land the outer edge of your Q. Once you ramp up that passive to 5 stacks, your ult is a flashy, powerful way to send them back to the fountain. And since it's true damage, you even cut through tanks like a hot knife through butter. Since you run Flash and Ghost on him, you're able to get onto opponents and stick to them, as you all in them and build up passive stacks. Once you hit 5 stacks, not only does the bleed start to tick harder, but the huge boost to your AD makes it so no champ in the game can go toe-to-toe with you. This can result in some very cheesy level 1 and 2 kills if your lane opponent isn't too familiar with what Darius does. Up next, despite repeated pleas for her to be nerfed, Camille still reigns as one of the best top laners in the game. With Grasp of the Undying, her passive shield, and W's healing, she's able to win the sustain game in most lanes, and whittles down opponents until it's time to go for an all-in. While those give you the sustain, Q serves as your damage dealer. With skillful use of the second cast, the true damage it deals helps to cut through any target regardless of their armor. In lanes where you need to build a slower health lead, sitting back and poking with W lets you win through gradual trades. Once you have your lane in a spot where you can go for more aggressive trades, E serves to gap close, stun, and give you an attack speed boost. But be careful, this ability is also your escape, so hold on to it if you think the jungler may be nearby. With good timing, E can even buffer CCs, allowing you to escape pretty much anything in the game if you're in a decent position. When you're committed to going for the kill, ult gives you the ability to lock down any target and force them to fight in your arena. In lane, it's useful for setting up ganks, but it really shines in the mid to late game where it can be used to isolate targets, giving you and your team a vital window to take out high priority carries. Here's a rerun of those top lane builds. Now, time for some jungle picks. Much like Darius, Hecarim is another champ thriving thanks to the ghost buffs earlier in the season, with the summoner giving him a way to rampage through teamfights even after his E is down. He's been on our lists a few times already this season, and now he's back at the top, this time with a new rune setup. While Conqueror gives better dueling and teamfight damage, Phase Rush gives you insane mobility, and the huge burst of movement speed synergizes with your passive to make up for some of the damage you lose from Conqueror. With its low cooldown and ramping AoE damage, Q is your bread and butter for clearing camps and DPSing champions in trades, and helps constantly proc Jhin and Triforce. Even with a damage-heavy build, W's draining effect can make you incredibly tanky in a full 5v5 teamfight, giving you the same effective HP as any tank. E's huge movement speed lets you chase down anyone in your sights, and when using it to gank, try to bait out your enemy's flash before getting behind them and knocking them into your team. Ult gives you an extra displacement with its AoE fear, with the dash letting you even chase targets over terrain if they try to flash away. An easy to execute combo is to use E to speed in, ult for an AoE fear to disrupt the entire enemy team, and use the rest of E's charge to push an isolated target further towards your team. Our second jungler is Evelynn, and with her permanent stealth after 6, she's able to pretty much apply pressure globally for the entire game. Her Q gives constant AoE DPS when clearing jungle camps, and thanks to the buff earlier in the season, its shorter cooldown gives her some consistent damage on top of her upfront burst. W can be popped instantly to slow targets you're trying to assassinate, but letting it fully wind up gives you a charm and a massive MR shred, enabling your combo to one-shot bruisers and even tanks if you're fed enough. E is the source of your burst, so make sure to use it while stealth to get the empowered effect to one-shot squishies. If any targets survive the initial combo, ult's massive execute can finish off any low HP targets. Make sure to think about how to angle it so you can quickly stealth and reposition to get back in the fight. Here's another look at those jungle builds. Now looking at some mid laners, our first pick is Zed. While Conqueror Zed has been the thing for much of the season, Electrocute is the way to go as the meta has shifted to some squishier champs in pretty much all roles. While nothing flashy, passives execute damage adds some finishing power to your burst, and makes last hitting a breeze, even under tower. Q gives decent poke in lane, and when used with your W shadow, helps rapidly push waves in. E adds to that wave clear, but its main use is as the only bit of CC in Zed's kit. Using it with his shadows will make it apply a brief slow, so think about how you want to use that when either going in for a kill or escaping from danger. While of course it's his main tool for killing opponents, Zed's ult is more than that. The untarget ability means he can use it to dodge crucial threats in CC, or to follow champs with escapes. For example, when trying to kill an Orianna, you want to use W plus E to slow her and swap with your shadow to get on top of her, but don't ult quite yet. Instead, wait until she ults to CC you, and use ult to dodge the CC and stay on top of her. Zed can be somewhat difficult to execute because of his complex combos, so if you're really interested in learning him but struggle a bit with the learning curve, be sure to visit us at ProGuides.com, where our coaches would be more than happy to help you get the hand of him quicker so you can spend more time enjoying Zed more. Our second pick is only safe if you already know what you're laning against, but when he does get counterpicked and he's available to free farm, Kassadin is one of the scariest carries in the game. Passive lets you shrug off magic damage in mage matchups, and Q doubles down on that, with the tit-for-tat trading always going in your favor thanks to its magic shield. W's on-hit damage gives an easier time for last hitting, with the empowered auto also helping to sustain your mana. E provides some ability to thin out minion waves, and when you're finally able to go aggressive, the slow, which goes up to 90% at max rank, helps to stick to targets, allowing you to stick to anyone you catch out. In teamfights, a well-aimed E can have a huge impact on a teamfight if you're able to tag 2 or 3 targets with the cone. Kassadin really starts to pick up steam once he hits 6, and his ult gives him insane mobility. You can use it aggressively to trade on your lane opponent when you're strong enough to do so, but be careful. Your main goal at this point of the game is to safely scale up to at least 11, where the lower CD ult lets you navigate teamfights and skirmishes a bit easier when you have to take them. But you still want to look to plant yourself in a side lane until you can reach level 16. Once you do finally reach this incredibly strong spike, your Rift Walk has practically no cooldown, and you're able to steamroll over entire teams. Your only counter at this point is hard CC, so be wary of where you're blinking into teamfights. Here's a quick recap of mid laner builds. Looking down to the bottom lane, despite her dominance, Riot went really light on the Ashe nerfs, and she's still showing up as one of the best bot laners there is. With her passive, she's able to apply slows all across her targets in teamfights, making it so that fleeing enemies are unable to escape, and threats trying to dive are much more kiteable. Her Q's attack speed steroid makes her an extremely potent carry in teamfights, shredding through even the tankiest of teams. W provides much of your harass in lane, with the cooldown becoming low enough that you can spam it for constant harass once you max it out and pick up some CDR. In teamfights, the wide cone helps to keep your passive on pretty much every enemy. E's Hawkshot provides a crazy amount of vision. It's not only good for sniffing out ganks in your own lane, but it can help protect other laners, check enemy camps to figure out their jungler's path, and scout out objectives to see if the enemy is trying to do Dragon or Baron. To round out her jam-packed kit, Ashe's ult gives her one of the strongest engage tools in the game, with the global arrow even being able to make cross-map snipes that can lead to some tilting deaths for the enemy team. When an ADC can rival Kog'Maw's DPS, but still has this much utility, it's no wonder she's been the reigning queen of ADCs for almost all of Season 10. Much of the meta shifted towards higher damage champs being prevalent, and with less tanks being in the game, Jhin is doing super well. His passive lets him easily kite high damage threats, while the fourth shot helps him deliver a devastating final hit, with the execute being strong enough to kill targets from half HP once he has a few items. One of the keys to trading well as Jhin in lane is to use his Q to secure last hits, making it so the last bounce deals a much bigger chunk of damage. While you're certainly able to initiate fights with W on its own if you have to, you usually want to wait until the enemy is either slowed by one of your traps or one of your allies has already locked down the enemy, and then follow up with your W's root. E's traps aren't really the easiest damage to land due to their long activation timer after being triggered, but they can be very useful for detecting incoming ganks. In the event that you're able to lock down an enemy on a trap, it can do a huge chunk of damage, and in chaotic mid to late game team fights, a chain of traps can sometimes lead to unexpectedly explosive multi-kills. And whether it's because you have to stay back to be safe, or you're just not quite in range to help with autos, ult gives you 4 shots at killing your enemies. Don't be afraid to just open up with ult to help your allies chasing down enemies, as the slow can be huge in helping to make picks. Here's one last look at the ADC builds. And last, we have our support picks. Even though tankier support options have been knocked down a notch or two, that doesn't mean kill lanes are dead. Pantheon is able to both dish out CC and do some bursty damage in aggro lanes, and this makes him one of the most snowbally champs in the lane. He pairs well with all types of laners, but is especially strong when picked with another lane bully like Jhin or Triss that can follow up on his W's stun. His Q gives him a bit of poke to soften enemies before going in, and when empowered, the slow can make it so immobile champs have no chance of outrunning him. His E blocks all damage from one direction, and using it when his passive is available makes it last 2.5 seconds, meaning he's able to engage tower dive, soak several shots while his teammates kill the enemy, and still live if he uses his combo properly. It also means he's deceptively tanky, since he's literally invulnerable for a short period during trades, and can be used to bait enemies into fights where he actually has the advantage. Once you have ult, it can be used to gank your own laners, or to go for a roam and extend your lead by helping the rest of your team out. If you do end up picking him up and giving him a go, don't be afraid to limit test. His damage output can be super surprising, and you want to make the most of it to cheese your opponents. While she started to pop back up as a bot laner when paired with Sona a few patches ago, Lux has shown that even without the other half of the duo, she's more than capable as a support. Her Q gives both disengage and catch potential, allowing her to either escape ganks and peel for allies, or follow up with her other spells for a huge bursty combo. Her W shield makes trading in lane almost always in your favor, but it really becomes OP out of lane once you have your core healing and shielding items built. In team fights, make sure you're positioning well so you can line up huge shields fields, but don't stand so far back that you can't land snares. In lane, E is a great source of constant poke, but in teamfights, when you can rely on your teammates to do more of the damage, its main use is as a slowing field to set up zones of control for your team. Being a mage at heart, Lux's ult provides a huge burst of damage, and when you have it up, your full combo lets you almost solo kill squishy carries from full HP. While our recommended build is the standard support stuff, don't be afraid to try an AP heavy build with Comet if you want to mix it up and be more of a damage threat. And before we go, here are the support builds one last time. And that is it for our OP Picker Ban 10.19 edition. Remember to let us know what extra champ you'd ban if you could in the comments below. And make sure to check out our website for more in-depth content and guides that were made by your favorite pro players and streamers. Thanks for watching, everyone, and good luck out on the Rift.